The member from Simcoe Grey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, as was mentioned 1 year ago, all parties in this House agreed to pass the Remembrance Week Act. The Act was brought forward by myself and jointly sponsored by the members from Parkdale High Park and Ottawa South. As a tribute to our veterans, the Remembrance Week Act declares the week preceding Remembrance Day each year as Remembrance Week. It augments November 11th and is another reminder of the incredible sacrifices our veterans made for our country and the cause of freedom. I continue to be grateful for all members of this House, of all parties, for the support they gave towards this Act and making Remembrance Week a reality in Ontario. Throughout my life, and I'm sure all our lives, we've all admired our veterans and the amazing contributions they've made to Canada and to the world. Speaker, for many of us, war is something far away we see through pictures or news reports on television. It's something we read about in books and magazines. Most of us have no experience with the violence and suffering that accompanies war and conflict. Remembrance Week and Remembrance Day is our occasion to pay tribute to the men and women who suffered so much on our behalf. Our veterans were part of the generation that changed history. They rose to a magnificent challenge and made a brave choice. They didn't ignore tyranny and injustice. They crossed the ocean and fought and defeated the enemy and liberated captive nations. Instead of standing by and watching evil grow, they chose to act for the good of all. Our military has an amazing history here in Canada and a tremendous record of service around the world. Our veterans answered the call many years ago to defend freedom and our way of life. And we must always remember our veterans who served in Korea and Afghanistan, and our veterans who fought in other conflicts and peacekeeping missions around the world. Many paid the ultimate sacrifice and didn't come home. Remembering their courage and dedication is very important. Our soldiers didn't fight for glory or for medals. They didn't leave their homes and families because it was glamorous. They went because it was the right thing to do. The Remembrance Week Act itself states, quote, "The people of Ontario must never forget the extraordinary courage and profound sacrifice made by the men and women who bravely and unselfishly gave their lives for Canada in wars and in peace support operations." End of quote. Speaker, this is a special year for us to commemorate our veterans. It is the 100th anniversary of the First World War and the 75th anniversary of the Second World War. Our world would be much a different place if our soldiers had not prevailed in those two world wars. These conflicts consumed the entire world and were a struggle for freedom and democracy. Today, we live in a safe and prosperous country. November 11th, let us all remember the values we cherish. It is those values our soldiers fought and died to protect. We must never forget that our fundamental freedoms of democracy and liberty came from the sacrifice of so many. Let us also take a moment to remember other places in the world enjoying freedom today thanks to the sacrifices of our veterans. Many countries were overrun by tyranny and were suffering. Our veterans helped liberate them from these conditions. The freedoms our fellow nations enjoy today are the ultimate symbols of the unselfish sacrifices our Canadian veterans made on behalf of the world. On November 11th, Royal Canadian Legions across Ontario will be hosting ceremonies for Remembrance Day to pay tribute and recognize the sacrifice of our soldiers. Please take a few moments of your day to attend and pay your respects. It's a day to reflect and honour their bravery and heroism. We owe them a debt that can never be repaid, lest we forget, Mr. Speaker.